In preparation for Ahsoka, I've been rewatching Star Wars Rebels. Rebels is, in my opinion, one of the best pieces of Star Wars that exist. It's definitely like the Clone Wars in that it can be enjoyed by kids, but offers a lot, especially thematically, for older Star Wars fans. I think overall it's actually significantly better than the Clone Wars, though I understand opinions to the opposite. Anyway, as I'm doing my rewatch, I thought it'd be interesting if I cover some of the battles in the show, of which there are many. By the way, if there's specifics you'd like to see later on, let me know down in the comments. I think this will be a really great series for people who haven't seen the show but want the highlights, but it'll also be good for people who love Star Wars Rebels and want to revisit some favorite moments. Anyway, about 3 to 4 years before the Battle of Yavin, the Phoenix Cell we've been following throughout Rebels is still trying to establish itself. One of my favorite parts of Rebels is that the show takes a lot of time showing how hard the Rebels fight for their ships. Their fleet, for example, has 3 Hammerhead cruisers, which they covertly acquired from the Alderaanians. However, one major problem right now is that the fleet doesn't have a true flagship. Their previous vessel, Phoenix Home, was destroyed in a battle with Vader, and they're not able to easily dock, resupply, and take care of their starfighters. And at the beginning of Season 2, Episode 15, we see that this results in the loss of an A-Wing. However, an interesting situation presents itself. Orbiting the planet Ryloth is a Quasar Class Cruiser. I actually love the Quasar, and I have since the Truth Epicura. It's one of the most functional carriers ever, essentially a flying hangar. It's perfect for Phoenix Squadron, which essentially needs a mobile base of operations. Also, if they can capture this Quasar, it will make things much easier for Ryloth resistance fighters on the planet's surface. The Quasar, as it stands, is serving as the mothership for TIE bombers, which are frequently making runs at the planet's surface. Alongside the Quasar class cruiser is an Imperial command ship, and on board the Quasar, as mentioned, is a set of TIE bombers, which, however, are leaving the ship at fairly regular patterns. So here's the plan. Hera reconnects with her father, Cham Syndulla, and they create a plan which will see them board the Quasar. There's one problem, however. The Ryloth freedom fighters want to destroy the ship, which is obviously a symbol of Imperial oppression, while the rebels want to steal it and add it to their fleet. Ultimately, Syndulla agrees to go along with Phoenix Squadron, however, he brings explosives along and plans to double-cross them. The way the rebels enter the ship is very interesting. Cham has managed to secure a TIE bomber, and we see a technique very similar to what's used at the beginning of the Mandalorian Season 2 finale. When the onboard bombers head down to the surface for bombing runs, the TIE bomber pretends to be chased by A-Wings and boards the Imperial ship. Unknown to the Phoenix Squad members, this is also laden with explosives, and upon landing, the Ryloth freedom fighters stun the Phoenix Squad and disable the ship's hyperdrive. I do briefly want to note that this reminds me of the destruction of the Night Hammer from Star Wars Legends. In that story, Callista Ming pilots a TIE bomber into the hangar of the Superstar Destroyer Night Hammer and basically uses the munitions of the TIE and other parked TIEs to cause a catastrophic fatal injury to the Dreadnought. Anyway, the rebels manage to free themselves. They make their way to the carrier's bridge, as Cham and his team are doing their own thing, neutralizing the ship's hyperdrive and planting explosives. Eventually, Ezra uses a coercive mind trick to force the captain to call an abandoned ship, and essentially the rebels have the vessel to themselves. There's only one problem. The explosives have already been placed. Cham Syndulla is unwilling to cooperate, so essentially the rebels are now a sitting duck. It doesn't take long for the other Imperial ship, the light cruiser, to realize that something is wrong, and in response it prepares a boarding shuttle filled with heavily armed stormtroopers. On the bridge of the cruiser carrier, Hera and her father have a heart-to-heart. They talk about whether they should be fighting for just their planet or as part of something greater, with Hera obviously taking the latter position, and in the end, the Ryloth hardliners decide that stealing the ship is the better option, especially given that it can be used to continue the fight against the Empire. Anyway, as the shuttle is launched, the TIE bombers are also returning from their attack on the planet's surface. The rebels now, as one cohesive group, man the point defense cannons on the cruiser carrier and are somewhat successful at warding off the attack, but the TIE bombers get a clean bombing run across the surface of the ship, causing serious damage. Thankfully, the boarding shuttle as well is able to be repelled, and the rebels come up with a plan to target the command ship. Essentially, they take all of the explosives which were meant for the carrier, they load it into one of the remaining TIE bombers, and Ezra, through the Force, throws it essentially at the enemy. The captain of the Imperial cruiser doesn't realize the vessel's true threat. He allows it to get close, and the TIE bomber explodes, catching one of the forward magazines of the cruiser in the blast, causing a critical and fatal blow to the Imperial ship. The carrier is able to escape and becomes the new flagship for Phoenix Squadron. I actually love this aspect of Star Wars Rebels. New ships being added, we see the fleet grow throughout the show, and it also sucks when we see the vessels lost. Is that going to happen to Phoenix Home? Well, I know the answer, a lot of you do, but if you don't, well, it'll make one of my future videos a bit more interesting. That's all I got for today, guys. Next time, I'll do a battle breakdown of the subsequent episode, trying to pinpoint at which point Zeb and Kallus fell in love, and try to analyze why Kallus climbs on Zeb's back when he's perfectly capable of walking on his own and nowhere near the wall that needs to be climbed. But guys, that's all for today. Thanks so much for watching. Be safe, have a good one, and may the Force be with you.